Good morning, everyone. My name is Mohammed Ali. I am a CEO of CyberWaze. Today, I have a special guest, which is into the legal and technology, and he works in Foodics as a General Counsel, Mr. Youssef. How are you?
How are you? Hi,
I'm
Ali. It's a great pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure. And by the way, this is our first podcast in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and you are our first guest.
Yeah, this is a great honor for me, and I would like to share some knowledge about legal and technology with you today, and to tell you about how things are developing in the kingdom.
It's our pleasure, by the way. And by the way, this is the first time I'm interviewing someone at legal, so I will learn a lot from you. Tell me something about yourself. I mean, how this journey from legal advisory to the strategic business, and then I came to know about your interest in technology.
Yes.
So, man, it's very different, legal technology. So tell me about that. How you started?
Of course. So how did I start? That's a good question, because usually, when you have like a child, it's very rare to tell that when I grow up, I want to be a lawyer or a judge or somebody who's working in the legal field, unless he has someone of his parents who is working in this field. For me, I had like a very different experience. I wanted to be a doctor. This is my childhood, and this was my path from day one.
Doctor.
Yes, exactly. And it's been in the specification of medicine and biology, and that was my passion during my childhood. And even I was in the intersection of going to the faculty, but I changed my mind, at the last minute, because I wanted to have something and a study that feeds, all the knowledge of not only from legal perspective, but all the curiosity about what's happening around us, the political scene, the business, everything. So I thought about it, and the law has always the answer because it gives you all the rules, what you should do, and gives you lots of information, lots of reading. So I entered the field of law because of that.
So that's really, you are like an all-rounder, doctor and medical and then legal. So being a general counsel at Foodics in the legal, can you explain more about your journey? So let's say, tell me about how important importance of technology in the field of legal and transforming legal in the digital transformation. So what role technology is playing in the field of legal services and advisory? Have you adopted some technology in your field? Give any example about that how you utilize technology in the legal.
Of course. This is something it's very important topic to discuss together, because technology nowadays is included in everything. So if you open your phone, want to do anything, you want to order some food, you want to have like a ride, to call someone, to do anything in the activities, just a click, and the technology is included. So now in all the sectors, technology is embedded in it. And whenever you have always some questions about how can I do that, how are the back end of the contracts, what are the terms and conditions that everybody accepts without reading.
Yeah.
These are the core questions where you have this kind of intersection. And to give you a bit of a context of the background, before joining Foodics, I was working in the private practice in Egypt, and I was lucky enough to be working in one of the law firms that was specialized in the telecommunication and the infrastructure of the technology, the cables, the internet. And this is where I found the passion, how these things work. What is the 4G license? What is the 5G license? How these can operate? And these are the real infrastructure that operate the business. What is the data centers? How they can operate it between the countries? So all of these are questions that had me in for the how I am curious on how to see the different regimes, the data protection laws in the different regions, how they should be applicable in the region. And these are the core hot topics right now.
Yeah.
And definitely, you're saying that this is the first podcast in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia announced officially that 2026 is going to be the year of AI, and they are monitoring all the companies that are adopting the AI evolution and in the ecosystem of the organizations. And this is where every intersection of not only the operation, but from a legal perspective, how this data managed, how can I have like a license for a ride sharing company, how can I have a contract with specific needs to operate a business. This is where the real questions are, and this is where I found my passion.
So when you mention about AI, I think that must be your favorite topic here. So how you think in the legal, of course, and you're adopting of AI technologies, etc. So when you are adopting AI and in the adoption phase and implementing some AI tools, can you explain about, is there anything in the legal decision making where AI can play a vital role kind of in terms of technology? Also, when AI, let's say for me, it's about the ethics of AI and governance. If AI is taking a decision, so who is responsible in legal? If AI takes one decision in legal, but still there's a human intervention there. So can you speak about that?
This is something that is still in discussion, and this is a worldwide discussion, not only in the region, but when you're saying that the first developers of the laws and regulations, mostly is in the EU, where the GDPR was firstly implemented, and then everybody followed the lead. This is what is happening as well with the EU AI Act now, and the discussions about having some main principles on the AI and how this should be in the contracts, how to speak could be governed in the organization policies. And now AI is not only like a tool that can help the organizations. I think that these are discussions that are currently being discussed on the level of different board of directors of many companies worldwide, where how this AI is going to be affecting the business, how it's going to be affecting the number of employees, how it's going to be affecting the operations, and how this should be monitored. So I can give you a very small example that can you give all the authorities to one junior employee in your organization to take all the actions on your behalf? This is something, if you ask this question, nobody will tell you that they will have this authority, but this is the same thing that is happening right now with AI. So AI can do amazing things, in all the sectors: coding, finance, drafting, operation, enabling. But at the same time, is it going to be responsible enough about everything? Who is going to be held with the liabilities? These are questions that we don't have current laws and regulations that are stated there. And until now, you can see the development of the technology and the AI every day, how the organization are embedding this.
Yeah.
And whenever we speak about AI, we need also to speak about the agentic AI and how the agents now are going to act, on sending email inside the organizations, outside the organization. How can you put a policy that can make sure that the employees will follow it, and who is going to be accountable? Because you can have accountability on, is this going to be the CISO? Is it going to be the CTO? Is it going to be the legal, the CEO? At the end of the day, it's going to be on the organization that made this AI without having a proper governance. So at the end of the day, I believe that this is a question of governance, not a question of liability.
AI governance, you're talking about. I think you mentioned a very valid point. And because it's AI versus AI, and even on the defender and attacker side, we will touch that part. But yes, the decision making and AI governance and responsible AI is very important. And as you mentioned about a very important topic which you touch is about data privacy and the regulation GDPR. And also in Saudi, there are regulation is mandatory, let's say, for data privacy. So can you tell about that how the organizations, and especially in your organizations, moving towards the data privacy law, and what measures you are taking to ensure that its data is protected?
Of course. So the law has been implemented and adopted since 2023. There was a grace period in 2024, and now it's fully adopted in the kingdom. And the Sadaya keeps issuing regular guidelines and regulations with different organizations. We have seen a lot of evolution in the sense of acting as an active regulator with different stakeholders in the kingdom. And what we see that is a very positive, that Sadaya is working as a partner with different organizations on the implementation. So it's not only a matter of regulatory role, which is, of course, they do this activity as well because they are the regulator, but they are much more working as a partner with different organizations. They put all the observations they want. They can give you different grace periods. how to improve your capabilities and performance. And this will depend, of course, on the sectors that you're working on. So if you're working on a financial sector, insurance sector, this is going to be different than working on basic personal data and information. So I believe that in the kingdom and in the region generally, the Sadaya and the other organizations are trying to treat the ecosystem of, they're trying to explore more, they're trying to adopt and understand whatever is fitting for the organizations of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in different markets in the region, rather than having like a prototype that is driven from GDPR laws and perspective. So they're trying to understand more of the culture. And on the other side, the organization is trying to adopt this culture within the organization. So I believe that in the upcoming period, there need to be like some sort of series of training sessions, awareness sessions within the organization with different departments. Each department should have its own material that it is affecting the yes, exactly. And another thing that we tried, yani, to implement in our organizations, that we're trying to implement uh, a day-to-day monitoring tools in which we want to understand and adopt how the data is treated, how we can minimize the data as much as we can. And we are trying to do this not only in Foodics, but in the ecosystem, in order to make sure that even if any breach might happen, we should prevent it from inside the organization, and to be proactive on having a proper process. And this is, I think, the key to move forward.
So the responsibility arises inside the organization also. It's not because there are regulation, and you gave a very good example, by the way, that what your organization is, this steps you are taking. I think it will help to come against the regulation and that protects the data, and the way what we are also seeing even in the region, even the kingdom, data privacy laws and regulation and Siddha, as you mentioned. So I think the measures you are taking in your organization, that's something gives a good message to the organization who are adopting data privacy laws in the region.
Exactly. So and thank you for this. And what I want to say, that this is not a checklist.
Yes.
Because if you're treating this as a checklist, and yes, we are doing we have a register, but how you implement it inside the organization, I can draft a very good terms and condition, a very good privacy policy from a legal standpoint and from a compliance standpoint.
Yes.
But how do I execute it inside the organization? Are the employees trained to understand the concepts? I think this is the real challenge of building the culture that is
building the culture, privacy building,
fitting in the culture of the Saudi Arabian.
Good.
And this is not only in the kingdom, by the way. This is now in the ecosystem of the region. So Egypt has its own regulations. Saudi Arabia has its own regulation. UAE has its own regulations. So 10 years ago, it was only a general concept of a GDPR that we want to adopt in the international scene, and of course the privacy policy. But again, now we need to adopt it based on the country's laws and regulation, which is applicable on each country.
So yes, I agree. Even UAE also, each region have their own regulation, and you mentioned very valid point that it's in the culture. It should be built in privacy. You have to build within the organization, because it's not only the checklist where you just check that based on compliance that we have a data privacy regulation, but it has to have countermeasures within the organization.
Exactly.
I like this message, and this will help many people. Now, coming back to again, I'll bring you back for the legal thing and the leadership of yours, and how important it is, since you're managing of course the different portfolio, and of course you mentioned you have many branches. So being in this leadership role, so can you give some advices that what are the key elements, because of course managing different branches and it's connected to the main branch, and of course there'll be a lot of regulations and the governance perspective of the GRC. So how you are maintaining all those things, and give some suggestions about that.
Yeah, of course. So the first thing that I believe that you need to connect with all the different stakeholders that you have in the organization. So you need to understand very well the product or the service that you are providing to your customers, not only from a legal perspective, because you can know all the laws and regulations and you can memorize them, but the real question that to understand the business, because at the end of the day, we are business enablers.
Yes.
And this is the mindset that most of the lawyers that are working in the intersection with business technology should understand it, that we are not showstoppers. We're not just here to say no or to give you an approval. The legal should be seen as a partner, a real partner that is collaborating with different stakeholders to share the same goal at the end of the day and to deliver it with the minimal losses or minimum risk that you can have and or give to the organization. And this is why, in my view, that you should understand the business very well, speak with different stakeholders, act as you are a customer, or as give me how you onboard the customers. Tell me about the process, and you go and sit with every single employee that is working maybe on a technical perspective, or you can be working on a different perspective in the business. And once you reach this, you will have a general overview of the layers of the law where you should protect in your contract, in your terms and conditions, in your approvals and consents. Once this is done, I think that you will have different capabilities of the culture and what you need to do. Working in different jurisdictions, of course, it is a challenge. This is why you should have a good team of lawyers that can support you. Sometimes you can go to different external counsel that can give you different supports from a local perspective and how you can implement the different laws and regulations. But at the end of the day, in order to be a successful lawyer regional, you need to understand the business first, and you need to understand how to implement it within different workplace and cultures, having a global contract, and to try to localize it for each jurisdiction according to each laws and regulation. I think this is the key that you can start building your team.
As you mentioned about the importance of legal, and I want you to tell about, because I also experienced that, and there are many companies, they don't have a legal team, and most of the small businesses, they can't afford to have a proper legal team. I will put this question in two parts. One is the importance of course, the legal in the organization.
Yeah.
And if the small company, small offices, they cannot afford to have a legal team, what minimal, prerequisites they can have, and how they can adopt the legal in a way where they can at least have, something in the organization with a limited budgetary cost, kind of thing.
Of course. So yeah, this is actually something that is we see now in different organizations. So you can find now like a company that's started as a startup and now it's becoming bigger, and they usually expand in technology, sales, operations. But
Yeah.
any service that they to function supports,
Yep.
they usually they don't tend to invest in it
Yep.
in-house.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, these are schools that you need to understand and to see what are the requirements, what is the kind of company that you're working at, and is it required to have a big team versus can we outsource some of the services? And this is something that we have seen a lot, and there is a new rules for the legal that are being adopted right now. So the in-house team started to have embedded AI tools that can help them to support on the drafting, on the review of the legal work. So instead of having a review of one contract, no, now you can have the option of reviewing 10 contracts in 1 hour.
No, with the, yes.
I'm not
The-
saying that the result will be 100% efficient, but it can give you 80% of what you need.
Optimization and efficiency, maximum efficiency. Yes.
Exactly. And whenever you can have like a playbook of what you need to have in your contract and what you need to adopt, I think this is the real magic where you can just have a small team and work efficiently. That's one. Two, sometimes at some point in time you will need to expand the team, because at the end of the day you cannot rely 100% on the automation or on the process that you can do in the contract verification. But at the end of the day, you need to understand whom am I hiring for the role, what's going to be the role, and how is going to be the evolution of this person in the long run. Because I cannot rely on technology only. I need to make sure that the people can work, can understand, can read, can challenge, and can be using the technology as well. And this is the real challenge, because I've worked a lot in the private practice in one of the very prestigious firms in Egypt. I led the internship committee. So
Okay.
I've been working with too many junior lawyers, training them. But now with the rise of the AI, having the AI in place now some law firms and some organization can see that this is a junior lawyer agent that we can have.
An AI agent is a junior lawyer.
Exactly.
Of course,
But unfortunately, yes, it is something that can help you out in your work and can do too much thing. But what about the future? How can I think that the real thing is that we need to have a combination of different generations that can work together, because the Gen Z or the small alpha versions of different generations, that everybody has his own expertise, everybody has his own knowledge. And in my view, the juniors have the leverage of using technology efficiently and better than we can use it, because they already use it in their universities.
Yes.
They do assignments with them. So, and of course, it's not a copy paste. It's just they need the experience from the seniors, and this is what they don't have. And the seniors need the way that they can operate and they can give prompts to the different tools that they have.
Yeah.
And I think the combination of both of them is the key for a success or a new era of, technology. We are not talking about legal sector only. I'm talking about all the different sectors. So this is where I think we need to work on in the upcoming
No,
period.
I think you summarized very well. It's the combination of technology and the legal and everything. And as you mentioned, it's organization, because of the AI, they can at least do some in the legal contracts, do the basic, as you say, junior AI assistant is a junior lawyer. So they can have this junior lawyer in the organization, and there are so many AI tools. They can at least review the contract, and then, of course, that can help them, to being upon the legal perspective. So the last question, which of course we discuss so many things. So the last question is, I'm seeing, of course, mashallah, you have a lot of awards you in your career, and you to reach to this level. What message you will give to the audience and the young generation who are pursuing in the career of legal as a lawyer, and and they want to become someone like you as an inspiration? So is there any message if you can give as a career path, that how they can come to this field, and how this field is evolving, of course, now with the embedment of embedding technology, AI, and how the new legal is transforming, the way things. So what do you think about as a message, like how they can inspire with you, and you can give some suggestions to the young generations?
Of course, and thank you for that. And actually, it comes from hard work and always eager to be always curious, always want to learn, always want to adopt new things in what you do. So, and of course, making mistakes. So, whenever you do some learning, some skills, some knowledgeable discussions, a podcast like we're doing today.
Awareness.
Exactly, this is awareness. You go, you have a discussion. Some people, if you're not curious enough to know, to understand, to challenge what is happening around you, you will not get there. And I believe that we need to learn on how to, not only to learn to have degrees. Of course, degrees are very important, and in the early career to have them, but to evolve, to adapt with what is happening, and be agile, because the technology is agile. And I don't want to say some tools of AI, you like 6 months ago you had like a dominating tool that you were using, and now you have another tool that you are connecting with different system that you have.
Yes.
But I'm sure that in the upcoming months you will have another evolution, so this means that you will never stop learning. And this is why we should all start having like at least 1 hour per day that we give outside of what we do, just to explore, just to learn, just to read more, watch some podcasts.
Exactly.
This is where you will move from one place to another. It will give your brain the real challenge that you want, and it will give you the proper answers of what we.
So the lawyers will not lost a job after AI. Those lawyers who don't adopt AI, how to use the the legal stuff, there will be no problem. So you should be in adoption for the technology and use it in an efficient way. And of course, the learning, as you mentioned, it's very important.
Of course, because human factor is the key. At the end of the day, like, I can have the best AI system in the world, but it can hallucinate. Who can challenge that it will hallucinate or not? Is it going to be another AI agent that will verify it? Even if I have an AI agent, who can give the proper judgment?
Exactly. Yes.
And this is where human factor will always prevail.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for your time, and this is something new for me. I learned a lot from you for the legal and all these practices, and it's been a pleasure to have you, and we would love to have you again. And if you have any message, the final one, you can tell to the audience.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure being with you today, and great honor, and to be the first,
The
podcaster
in the
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And the message is to any junior lawyer or someone who is working between legal and technology: always learn, always read, always see adopt with what is happening, and at the end of the day, never stop learning, never stop challenging, and you will get there one day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.